Hi guys. So I am going to do a story time, and I'm going to do a story time on how and why I became celibate for 17 years. Yeah, a long time, right? 17 years. Um it was a promise to God, and so I took it very seriously. I don't play about God. So when I decided to make that promise, I knew that I was pretty serious. I remember the exact day I kind of sat down with God and kind of had a talk with Him. I was in a situationship with a guy I kind of liked. I think I liked him because I worked with him when I was a teenager, and I had some type of um, crush on him. I guess because he was a police officer, and I kind of felt like that was a big status. His title um, kind of impressed me. I was a title girl. Like, I was never the girl that kind of messed with a guy just because he had money. It was the status that got me. Um, but as I got older, I'll say about 22, 21, I got with this guy. And because I had a crush on him, I kind of thought highly of him. It was kind of easy for him to get me, you know. I thought that I was doing something really big by messing with him. Um, Although after a while, I noticed that even though I looked up to him, this guy, he really wasn't doing anything, where he lived at was kind of bad. It was a bad area. I found out that he was, I think, separated. I don't even think he was like fully divorced, which I'm not sure because I didn't ask. But I kind of think that he was separated because a lot of um, unfortunate situations kept happening to me with me messing with this guy. And I know that that was God telling me to stop and to leave this guy alone. He just wasn't good for me at all, but it was the excitement, just to know that um, a guy who's a police officer is interested in me. My value of myself was very low. Um, I was a foster child very young, from 11 months. And I stayed in the system all the way until 18. So I never really thought that I was really somebody special, So to have the police officer interested in me the way he um, was kind of, I guess, amazing to me. But as I got to know him, his character, I started to realize that the hype wasn't really cracked up as I thought it was to be. It was not as good as I thought. This guy, he was kind of like a narcissist. He didn't have respect for women. I did find out that he had like 4 or 5 kids or something like that, which I never met him. Our situationship didn't last long at all. It maybe last for like a couple of months, because it wore off very, very quickly. Even though I didn't really have high value of myself, at the time, I knew that I can do better. Um, just going off of his character alone. Um, and it was things that he was doing that kind of like was affecting my self-esteem. And when it was time for me to let him go, my little feelings was hurt, even though we only was in a situation for like 2 or 3 months. Still, my little feelings was hurt with the little mind games that he played with me. just him letting me know that he really didn't take me serious. He didn't have respect for himself. So, but when I'm being that young, when you're early 20s, you don't understand that. You don't know. Um, but in retrospect, I realized he didn't really have any respect for himself. He was really just out there, and he was kind of like a sex addict. And I fell into his lap. Like, I was easy prey because I was very impressionable as a teenager when I met him. Um, so I gave him more value than he deserved. Put it that way. So one day he hurted my feelings. I think he kind of stood me up, and I never had anything like that happen to me. And it really, really hurted my feelings to the point where I was just like, I'm tired of it. Like, I'm tired of being ignored. I'm tired of being treated mean by guys. Um, just taking me as a joke. So, and I think it kind of stemmed from my father too, because my father, he never respected me either as his daughter. My father is a Muslim, so he kind of feel like women should be in the back of men and do everything that they tell him to do. He was also narcissistic as well, similar to the guy that I fell into the situationship with. And it just brought back so much memories. When a narcissist guy that I was in a situationship with started treating me mean, when he stood me up, it kind of reminded me of my abandonment issues that I had with my father. The times when my father just treated me mean. My father didn't have any respect for me. Now, since I'm older, I realized that he didn't have any respect for me because of the things that he did when I was younger, when I was a child. It's things that my father did that I know that a father wouldn't do to their child if they love them. Now, since I'm an adult, and I've experienced and seen real relationships with fathers and daughters, husbands and wives. I know now that it just wasn't. I was set up to fail, being raised by my father. Put it that way. So that was the night though when he stood me up. I was just tired, and I asked God. I said, God, if you can take this pain away of what I'm feeling. I didn't really understand what I was feeling at the time. But I know it hurted, and I know I was always depressed. I know that it took a lot of energy from me, and I wanted more. I wanted to continue on my journey that I was on before I met this guy. I was very happy. I was just in college. I had my own home, my own car. I was just happy, and just that little bit of time with the 3 months that I spent with that guy, it kind of took a lot from me. It took a lot of energy from me. And I just think that it was just time. It was just time for me to grow up. And I knew the only person that could help me was God, because my parents, I knew I couldn't go to them because, for one, they didn't have the tools to help me with the emotional problems that I was having with myself. They was really the cause of why I felt as low as I did, why my self-esteem was so low. It's because how they treated me, the abandonment that and the neglect and the abuse that they projected onto me. So I couldn't really heal where I got sick at, which started with my parents, specifically my father, which made it easy for me to fall into a situationship like I did with the guy, the police officer guy. Um, so I'm able to tell you that because as I spoke with God, God kind of revealed things to you. And when you go to him and you ask him for his help, he listens, and he listens immediately. Once I made that promise to God, I'm telling you, when I woke up the next day, I felt like I didn't miss anything. Like, that guy was gone. He was out of my life, which was pretty easy because, like I said, he was a womanizer. So me telling him to get lost was nothing to him. He just moved up right on to the next girl. But that was easy for me to begin my healing journey. So I made the promise to God, and how did I end up like really, really becoming a child of God and strong into my faith is I started reading the Bible. I picked up the Bible and I really started reading it and I really started studying it. And the first verse was how I was able to really know, okay, the God is me and you. And what do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? And let's go to the verse. The verse is, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that was in John verse 1:1, if I'm not mistaken, the King James Version. So just reading that, to know that I wanted to start over in my life. I wanted to be brand new. I wanted a beginning. That verse kind of gave me a blueprint of where to start in my life, which was the Word, which was the Bible. So no matter what I did in life, no matter what happened, I made sure that I stayed celibate. No matter what, I stayed celibate. And man, was it hard. The first year, it was very hard. Every man I came across, I was lusting over. But that lasted for at least a year, I would say. The second year, it got a little easier because I became real busy. I was still in college. I was still very young. I think I was like 23, 24. So my focus just really became focused on God and focused on school. The second year, that's when it began to get a lot easier. And it really became a lot easier because God made me a lot busier. I was finishing up college. And I was working on starting a business. And I also ended up taking care of my nephew. So I became really, really busy. But the second year, it was really, really tough. And the reason why I was able to kind of keep my celibacy was because, of course, I pleasured myself. And I did that up until I had a revelation with God. I remember one time I was pleasuring myself, and I heard a whisper. And, of course, I think it was God, was telling me, like, oh, why are you abusing yourself? why are you doing that to yourself? That's just like, I don't know why this came up, but it was, the whisper was, it's just like a lizard holding his nose, and so his own self can't breathe. And that analogy, it really woke me up, because it really was, it's weird for you to kind of play with yourself like that. um, and I say that now because I've spent a lot of time with God, but I think everybody have their own ways that um, they can continue on with their celibacy, um, but I would say within a couple of years, I stopped pleasuring myself because I was really starting to feel convicted. I was really starting to feel guilty. So after, I would say like the fourth year, I was just completely cold turkey. I was like, okay, God, I hear you. Um, I'm going to leave it alone. It's really not that serious. Um, and I had to learn um, what sex was made for. Um, as a child, I think I was like 7 or 8 when I first um, was introduced to sex. I was molested by my mom's boyfriend, which he didn't penetrate me. He didn't penetrate me, but he did grope me. He did touch me. He did show me things that I shouldn't have seen at 7, 8 years old. With him pleasuring himself, and me seeing him release himself. Of course, I didn't know what I was looking at, but that's how I think I just believed that it was okay to just participate, you know, in sexual activities. I had family members that kind of molested me, groped me. Um, so it was pretty easy for me to just pleasure myself, in the first, or the beginning parts of me becoming me becoming celibate. So when you talk to God and you ask God to help you, and you're serious about getting closer with God, He do reveal things to you, in life, as time goes on, um, and after getting the revelation about sex, um, with God, I had to wonder, why was sex there? Like, why did it exist? Because our body, it yearns for sex. I understand that I was molested, of course, so that does open my body to that type of demon, sexual demon, because I didn't know, you know. Um, but when you don't know anything and you get closer with God, God begins to give you wisdom, and He let you know why He put things in place to protect His children. Um, so after I stopped pleasuring myself, I went to the Bible, and I wanted to know why sex existed, And of course, sex was created so that we can multiply, we can have children. But it also says in the Bible, it says, let's go to the verse. It states, marriage is honorable, and all in the bed is undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. And this was in Hebrews, verse 13:4 in the King James Version. And that verse kind of scared me, because me becoming celibate is for me to get closer with God and for Him to be proud of me, and to kind of prosper on the journey that He gave me. So when it's stated in the Bible that He will judge us for fornication, for having sex, without being married or with married people, you just shouldn't be having sex without marriage. That's not what it's for. It's not for entertainment. It's not just to pleasure the flesh. Sex was specifically there to procreate. That's why marriage is important. And I think that because I was molested young, sex became perverted to me, which I think with most people, we don't understand the importance of sex and why you shouldn't just be experiencing sex with just anyone, transferring spirits with anyone. But to know that God is judging us, that was enough for me to say, okay, I'm not going to have sex no more until I'm married. And I am so serious about that. Even if I never get married, I won't have sex until I get married. Because I am looking for to please God. That is my mission in life now. Because He did pick me up from such a low place. I couldn't betray God in that aspect, even if I wanted to, because my celibacy was the sacrifice that I gave to Him to open my eyes, to just make me awakened to all the misery and that I was experiencing. I needed to understand, why was I experiencing so much misery in my life? And God, He reveals it to me every day. It's another verse that He spoke about as well to make it clearer on why celibacy is important. If you can say a version, why that is important. So let's go to the verse. As a matter of fact, let's go to 2 verses. So just to clarify, it is forbidden by God for His children to indulge in fornication, to indulge in sex. In the Bible, it states, "For this is the will of God, even your sanctification, that ye shall abstain from fornication." So God is telling us that it is His word, it is His will, that we shouldn't be participating in sexual activities if we're not married. Fornication means you're having sex and you're not married. And this is in Thessalonians, verse 4:3, King James Version. The next verse I kind of want to point out, which I really feel like is important. It states in Corinthians, verse 6:18, the King James Version, of course. It states, "Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body. But he that commit fornication sinneth against his own body." And I felt like that verse was very important, because you're like, okay, why can't I just enjoy sex with no strings attached? Why can't I just enjoy life? That's not enjoying life. There's more to life than sex. And the reason why it states that when you fornicate, you sin against your own body is because having sex with multiple people or people when you're not married, you don't have any type of communication, dialogue, of how you guys going to keep your marriage sacred and purified, clean. You're just having sex with anyone. And it's what leads to STDs like HIV, herpes, syphilis, gonorrhea, many more STDs that's out there, and that is being reinvented or being invented due to people having multiple sex partners. This is the reason why a lot of people get their heartbreak or they're heartbroken, because you're sharing a spiritual bond, a sacred bond through sex with someone you don't know, that's not ordained by God. So you're just inviting any type of spirit inside you. So, of course, people don't have respect for one another. You don't have respect for your partner. So you're going to do what you want to do, whether it hurt that person or not, whether it disrespect that person or not. And this leads to devaluation. Make you feel lower than what you really are. Because when you're a child of God, you're wonderfully made, But if you're experiencing a lot of sexual partners who don't care anything about you and they just dumping themselves, their liquid in you like a dumpster, you're not going to have any self-respect. You're not going to have respect for that person after a while if he's continuously or she's continuously hurting you or disrespecting you, because you think that a sex is just a game. Is not serious, and is very serious. It's a very sacred bond. This is how you have a lot of people killing each other, because you have people that are becoming jealous because you're messing with their girlfriend, their boyfriend, their baby mama, their baby daddy, their love interest, their crush even. You have people going after people, stalking people, obsessing over people that's not their wife, that's not their husband, because they have that stronghold through sex. You have people lying to you. You have people stealing from you. And it's all from the vessel of sex. Fornicating is the portal to all of these things that leads to misery. Envy, low self-esteem, lack of interest in life. Fornicating or having sex with the wrong person can steal your soul. It will steal your soul. And that's why God say he don't want you having sex before marriage, because he already know that these are the consequences. And when God put these things in place, it's to protect you. So this is the reason why I decided to stay celibate for so long. This is the reason why I decided to purify my body for 17 years. Because I understand what is God's plan for our lives, for the life of his children. And it's for us to be prosperous, for us to be at peace. It's for us to be joyful, enjoy life. And having sex with anyone can definitely shorten your life. It's definitely going to shorten your lifespan. It's definitely going to put you in situations that you shouldn't be in. So preserving yourself until marriage, saving yourself until marriage is the biggest protection that you can give to yourself and that God gives us. So after speaking to God about celibacy, giving him this sacrifice, waiting until marriage, it's worth it. 15 seconds of pleasure is not worth it. I don't care. You can be and just playing with each other for hours. It's not worth your peace. It's not worth your happiness. It's not worth your joy. It's not worth your future. It's not worth your relationship with God. God is the beginning. God is the Word. God is our creator. God is life. And because I understand this so well, is the reason why I've been able to stay celibate for 17 years. And the clock is still ticking. And I'm even at a point now where I want a child of my own. But because I'm still in the process of healing, a lot of mistakes that I made that kind of delayed me from being married or having a husband, at least in my own mind. I want a child. And even if God say yes about me having a child, if I don't get married, there have to be another way that I go about doing this. And I think even on the channel, I asked you guys, I said, what do you guys think about having a sperm donor or a surrogate mother to help you bring in a child if you're not married? And I think I kind of came up with the answer about the sperm donor. That's definitely a no. Because I am consenting someone's spirit that I don't know to come inside my vessel. And I know that I don't want to do that. So surrogacy might be a choice for me, or I have someone carry my child for me, or I may adopt, because I am in that season where I want to nurture and raise a child. But even though that's my heart desire, the love for God, my promise to God, is much stronger. And I will remain celibate until I get married. You guys have a blessed day. And I really hope that my testimony helps someone tonight. Enjoy the rest of your day.